We today, more than we perhaps realize, still live in a time that is driven by similar mechanisms that surfaced from the mid-19th century. An absolute belief in progression. New is better by definition. Our social structures may very well have changed, but it is hard for us to accept a truth or reality that does not align with what we still believe progression should be defined with. In a similar way, only the idea that early 19th century musicians are 2 centuries behind us on this timeline, and not an eternity ahead in terms of technical power, elevated almost to a godlike status, is for many today impossible to accept. We would shiver from the idea of comparing those composers to the capacities of athletes even a century ago. Luther Carey in 1891 did not run the 100 meter in the 9.58 of Usain Bolt in 2009. As perhaps Liszt wasn't the titan that would make our current generation of pianists look like beginners. Or as Chopin, who might have been technically very gifted but human after all, far from the unrealistic image we created of the man who liked the intimacy of the living room more than the brilliance of the concert hall, and fought his entire life against a weak health that would rip the world of this unique voice at the age of only 39. In this video, I'll give you some background and context of the notation and performance of Chopin's music in general, his Etude Opus 10 No. 9 in F minor, which I've uploaded a few days ago in particular. And at the end of this video, we'll take a look at the performance Maurizio Pollini gave of the same piece. Not to criticize the performance of one of the greatest pianists of our time, only to see if this performance or performances like these fit the original Chopin tradition, or more that of a late 19th century pianistic way of playing. So welcome everybody to Authentic Sound. My name is Wim Winters and this channel is all about exploring the music from Bach to Beethoven and beyond, with the single goal to inspire you on your journey as a musician or as a music lover. And don't worry, I do realize that for many of you, certainly if you're new to this channel and not have heard anything on the underlying research towards tempo reconstruction, that my performance of Chopin's Etude Opus 10 No. 9 must have been a complete shock. Yes, often we are told, and I'm no exception to that the metronome numbers in Chopin's case are only ideal speeds to strive for, not really meant to be reached. As a piano teacher once told me, Chopin's metronome numbers are given by the master to bring the best out of everybody. Yes, I think that was the basic idea of Chopin. Or of all those other composers, Beethoven, Hummel, Ries, Czerny, Moscheles, Mendelssohn, Tomacek, and so on. Therefore, they took the effort and time of in one case marking a piece with 96, next piece 88, then 104, then 76, and so on. Imagine how much time they all could have saved just by writing as fast as humanly possible. No, contrary to this as fast as possible explanation, one of the easiest things to prove is the seriousness and the accuracy with which those early 19th century musicians, Chopin included, marked their own performance speeds for their compositions. And realizing that the choice of tempo is one of the most important decisions a musician needs to make, a choice that influences a whole lot of other elements, including the character of the piece. We'd better pay a little bit more attention to these little numbers. It's almost as good as a CD recording. Perhaps not as good as a CD recording, but in any case, it's a huge difference with a situation where we would not have those speed indications. But today, these metronome numbers are most often completely denied. Surprisingly, as well by the so-called historical performance practice movement, for which group one would think this information, being prime performance indicators, should be above the beds of everyone involved. There will be many reasons for not wanting to deal with them. The main reason, besides fear for change, for sure is a refusal, almost as a default position, to accept any explanation that might lead to an even minimal decrease of common tempi. Though we do see a change, especially with the younger generation of musicians that seem to be more open to change and experiment, the wish to be accepted as a musician with high technical standards, also in hip circles, is a big concern. However understandable this attitude is, whoever claims to be interested in reconstructing the composer's wish in his or her performance will have to deal with the thousands of metronome numbers they left. Statistically, we have so many speed indications that they become relevant, and errors easily can be filtered out. Yes, many of those numbers, including the Chopin one, are extremely fast. Yet we have two options to deal with them. Either read them as we do today, where one tick gives the speed of the represented note value in the metronome number, or we could take the old historical method described even from the Middle Ages onwards, where the note value represents the Takt in German, mesure in French, or time in English. In many historical writings on music, this is synonym for Schlag. You'll find lots of descriptions, up to the 17th century, full in the old mensural notation. One semibrevis, a whole note, had one Schlag, where Schlag literally was the arm of the leading musician going up and down. The Schlag was completed when the arm returned to its original position. The up and down together had the duration of the semibrevis, the Takt note. I'm working currently on an article that will sketch you the evolution, easy to follow thanks to Google search, into the 18th and 19th century. And you'll quickly find the same terminology related to the pendulum, chronometer, or metronome. Also in Chopin's time, that original meaning and understanding was still around. For instance, a description on how to use the metronome given by Edward Jeu in 1838. I quote, de l'unité du temps ou du mouvement. Le mouvement est la mesure du temps. C'est ainsi que la marche de l'aiguille partage le jour en heures, en minutes, etc. Une ou mieux encore deux oscillations du pendule peuvent être prises pour une unité comparative. Pour figurer cette unité binaire, c'est-à-dire composée de deux mouvements, nous employerons le signe quarter note qu'on appelle une noire, sans toutefois prétendre attribuer à la noire rien d'absolu sous le rapport de la durée. Elle ne doit rappeler à notre esprit que les deux mouvements plus ou moins pressés, mais isochrones, c'est-à-dire égaux entre eux, par lesquels on marque l'unité. Imitons avec la main droite les deux oscillations du pendule, en frappant et levant alternativement. Au frappé commencera l'unité pour finir au frappé suivant, moment où une seconde unité lui succédera. In English, on the unity of beats or the movement. The movement is the measure of time. One, or better, two vibrations of the pendulum can be taken as a unity. In order to demonstrate this binary unity, so composed out of two movements, we take the sign of the quarter note, knowing that we do not adhere to this quarter note an absolute time duration. The only function she has is to remind us on the two movements more or less faster but synchronized, meaning equal, by which they mark the unity. We imitate then with the right hand the two vibrations of the pendulum while moving up and down. When we come down with the hand, the beginning of the next unity starts that will end with the next down position of the hand, the moment where a unit a united second will follow. So in our case here of Chopin's Etude number 9, which has the metronome number of dotted quarter note 96, we place a weight of the metronome on 96 and each single swing will give us the half of the note value and the metronome number. Because the two ticks together, in French deux temps, give the complete beat, vibration, vibration or schlag. It sounds more complicated than it is, but just try it and you'll enjoy the simplicity of it. But even if we hadn't libraries full of proof, it would not be too difficult to come up with a similar explanation. Many pieces simply become unplayable in what we often call single beat. Just try a Czerny Etude or this F minor one by Chopin. And do realize that we very rarely hear any musical piece performed in the speed indications given by the composers. So don't fall into the trap that certain musicologists like to set for you, that every piece would become half as slow compared to what we today have set as a standard. That's an ugly trap, in fact, since we indeed rarely hear a piece that fast. Roughly said, for a reconstruction both in double or single beat, a correction must be done of an average of about 30% in both directions. Also for this etude, because even Pollini, not particularly known for his slow performances, is 10% under the literal speed as given by Chopin. And even then, he feels the need technically or musically to slow down drastically at the end of his etude. I'll give you a fragment so you can see for yourself. This kind of over-the-top rubato did not exist in Chopin's time, but in any case, it's not indicated here either. In the historical tempo, there is no need at all to suddenly pull the handbrake. Not talking even on the character of this piece, which still is allegro and where the left hand depicts aspects of a world that rapidly changes through mechanization, where one almost hears the pulses of the steam train. A train connecting people or taking them far from their home country. Not talking either on those repeated 16th notes, forte, after a slight smosando pianissimo in the previous bar. In the literal tempo, remember, that is Pollini plus 10%. There is no way those repeated notes can be played a tempo, even on a perfectly regulated Steinway of today. Let alone the Pleyel that Chopin loved so much, but has not given him a repetition mechanic at all. The Polish master was not after a repetition mechanic either, since the company Erard could have delivered it to him already since 1822. Yes, we must realize how much we still are impressed, biased perhaps even, by technical abilities, before we really can free our minds in the fascinating search for what could have been the original message of the composers we still admire so much today. Certainly, in Chopin's case, I'd say. So that was it for today. You can expect a separate video or even a series of videos on how the metronome was used and described in those days based on historical writings. I promise you that. Over the summer, we might change our schedule slightly to create some room for writing on the subject in a broader sense. More on that in next week's video. In the meantime, thank you all for watching and reflecting with me on this fascinating subject. Do not forget that we're all at the same side here. And let's especially keep enjoying each other's performances, no matter what standpoint is taken. And if you want to see more of this, hit that subscribe button, also the bell icon next to the subscription button. And if you really want to push us all the way to keep going, you might want to become a patron for Authentic Sound and join a group of about 70 other supporters. We have monthly video calls in which we chat about anything, also tempo. Thanks again and see you soon.